Imagine walking into a room where the lights have just dimmed, the applause is still echoing, and the entire industry is holding its breath because one late-night host's future just hung in the balance. Tonight, backstage at the 2025 iHeartRadio Music Festival, Charlamagne Tha God, a man who built his empire from raw radio truth-telling, drops a line that sends a chill through the room. Networks are choosing the bottom line over the talent that built them. That single idea, that the people who make us laugh, think, and tune in every week can be tossed aside when the business gets cold, is the thunderclap that opens this story. In the next 20 minutes, we're peeling back the curtain on Charlamagne's exclusive take, why Jimmy Kimmel's suspension at ABC isn't just a headline, why Wendy Williams' guardianship fight is a human story nobody should ignore, and what all of this means for the future of media, trust, and the people who give us our cultural moments. Buckle up, we're going deep, and this one is personal. To set the stage, Charlamagne Tha God is no stranger to controversy or to being the person who asks the awkward, necessary question. He learned the ropes under Wendy Williams, a titan of shock jock honesty and a mentor whose rise and fall have become one of entertainment's most complicated sagas. Over the years, Charlamagne's Breakfast Club has become a must-watch platform, the place where headlines are born and reputations are remade. But right now, two stories are colliding. Jimmy Kimmel, a late-night mainstay, finds himself suspended by a major network amid public uproar, and Wendy Williams, Charlamagne's OG, has been fighting for autonomy in a high-profile guardianship dispute in New York. Both stories, one professional, one deeply personal, force us to ask how networks handle mistakes, loyalty, and the human beings behind the persona. Charlamagne's presence at iHeart, a diverse media hub he praises for its range of voices, gives him a vantage point few others have. He is not just reporting, he is feeling this moment in the chest. Let's break down the main event. Jimmy Kimmel's suspension has become the latest rallying point in a culture war that always seems to circle back to late-night television. People are calling it a free speech debate, a corporate decision, a PR disaster, and, on some corners of the internet, a political hit. Charlamagne calls out what many of us sensed. This isn't a spontaneous clash about First Amendment principles. He points to the larger pattern. Networks reacting strategically, sometimes preemptively, when controversy threatens stock prices or advertiser relationships. When your parent company treats you the way ABC treated Jimmy, Charlamagne asks, how do you ever fully trust your employer again? Is the penalty proportional to the offense, or is talent being made an example of to show other employees what happens when the company's brand is threatened? Those are the thorny questions Charlamagne throws on the table, and he does it with the kind of bluntness that has made him both loved and lambasted. But this isn't just theater. It's a test case for how networks will balance revenue, ratings, and the human cost of public missteps. The fallout has been loud and messy. Fans online are split. Some call for forgiveness and nuance, others demand accountability and even permanent removal. Celebrities and peers in media are whispering in the wings, some offering cautious support for Jimmy's right to free expression, others quietly nodding at the business realities Charlamagne mentions. Industry insiders are eyeing how advertisers react and what the suspension signals for future talent contracts. On social media, the chorus ranges from righteous outrage to weary cynicism, a two-part mirror of modern celebrity culture where empathy often loses to virality. Charlamagne watches that chorus and sees the human consequence. When a platform that once championed you turns its back, the damage is both reputational and existential. And then there's Wendy Williams' corner of the internet. A different kind of reaction, deeply emotional. Fans and former colleagues expressing heartbreak, demanding dignity, and pushing for her voice to be heard again. Charlamagne's own reaction is personal. He remembers Wendy's advice, her generosity, and he doesn't want to see someone who once taught him how to command an audience disappear in a velvet-roped legal limbo. Underneath the headlines are details most people don't see. Charlamagne reminds us that Wendy Williams wasn't just a loud TV personality. She was a teacher of tactics, a one-person media company who taught a generation how to turn gossip into narrative. Her fight to regain autonomy is framed in legalese as a guardianship, but Charlamagne reframes it as something existential, a person seeking the right to run her life. He shares private touches, the calls they made, her being at his birthday earlier in the year, and seeing her sit front row at New York Fashion Week, signals that her world wasn't entirely taken from her. But the lesser-known detail is the emotional cost of guardianship. The isolation, the erosion of agency, the small humiliations of someone used to commanding crowds suddenly being forced to ask permission to move through their own day. On the Jimmy side, the behind-the-scenes truth Charlamagne points to is corporate calculus. Networks are juggling shareholder value, advertiser comfort, and a brittle public trust. Charlamagne suggests that in this climate, talent is bargaining with a hand it didn't know it would have to play. The real lesson hidden in the noise? Media companies can't pretend they're separate from the lives of the people they employ. Decisions ripple far beyond press releases. Charlamagne doesn't pose as a legal expert or a boardroom strategist, but his insider status gives weight to his reading of the room. He speaks like someone who's watched careers ascend and collapse, like a man who's seen networks cozy up to new talent and also quietly bench veterans when it suits them. He offers an expert-style critique. Companies must balance business interests with the moral floor of how they treat people. He suggests that networks should adopt clearer, transparent standards for discipline, not just to protect advertisers, but to protect trust with talent and audiences alike. He points out that iHeart's model, hosting a broad ideological spectrum, helps insulate some hosts from knee-jerk cancel culture because the platform is designed to tolerate friction. That's insider thinking. Platforms built for range can absorb shocks differently. He also quietly conveys a career coach's touch. For talent, reputation, equity matters. The ability to repair relationships, show accountability, and demonstrate growth is how you survive a public slide. Taken together, Charlamagne's commentary reads like a field guide for both sides of the mic. For networks, an ethical challenge. For talent, a survival blueprint. So what does this storm mean for Jimmy Kimmel, for Wendy Williams, and for the larger ecosystem of late night and talk radio? For Jimmy, Charlamagne offers a somber prospect. Returning after a high-profile corporate rebuke is possible, but it requires meaningful amends and a parent company willing to prioritize the human being as well as the bottom line. If ABC's actions were performative, Jimmy may find the road back narrow. If the company shows public support, there's room for comeback. For Wendy Williams, the stakes are even more intimate. Charlamagne frames her guardianship battle as a reclaiming of self, a painful, public process that will define how the industry treats aging or vulnerable stars going forward. The broader implication is this. Artists and hosts who once assumed their fame guaranteed protection now live in an era where contracts, legal guardianships, and brand safety can reshape careers overnight. The trust economy, the invisible bank of goodwill between audience and celebrity, has become fragile currency. Charlamagne is warning us all. Talent should be afforded dignity, and companies should be held accountable for how they exercise power over people's lives. To make sense of today, Charlamagne compares it implicitly to what we've seen before. Stars canceled and later forgiven, guardianships used in ways that protect or silence, and networks that flip from protector to prosecutor when headlines demand it. Think of past late-night scandals where hosts navigated the path back. Some walked it with humility and strategic apologies. Others vanished into reruns of their old self. Wendy's story evokes famous conservatorship cases that sparked public fury and policy conversations. Her situation is a reminder that celebrity doesn't immunize someone from vulnerability. Charlamagne's own history with Wendy, a protege paying forward the lessons of his mento, is a through line to past mentorships in media where the student ends up defending the teacher, mirroring Hollywood cycles where the baton passes as reputations are tested. The past shows us patterns. Initial public outrage, corporate reflex, then either redemption or exile. Charlamagne's voice asks us to pause and consider which pattern we want repeated and who pays the price for our entertainment. In the quiet after the festival lights dim, Charlamagne's message lands like a benediction and a warning. We must care not just about the spectacle, but about the people who build it. If networks continue to treat talent as replaceable inventory, our culture loses more than a joke or a headline. It loses empathy, mentorship, and the messy, human stories that make artists real. For Wendy Williams, the fight isn't about ratings. It's about freedom. For Jimmy Kimmel, this is about repair and whether the industry will prioritize human dignity over immediate optics. And for the rest of us, Charlamagne's plea is simple and urgent. Hold networks accountable, stand by the humane treatment of the people who shape our conversations, and remember that behind every scandal is a human life that deserves respect. So, next time you tune in, whether it's late night or morning radio, listen not just for the punchline but for the person behind it. Because in the end, culture is made of people, and people deserve better than to be used up and tossed aside. This has been an exclusive look at Charlamagne Tha God's take from iHeart. Raw, honest, and impossibly real. Keep watching, keep questioning, and above all, keep compassion at the center of our conversation.
For full video, click related link below or like and subscribe this channel.